we got another one. We have one that I have been so excited to go over for such a long amount of time. So this album here, this is Pure Comedy by Father John Misty. The way that I was introduced to this album was there's another person on YouTube who I watch their videos, you know, kind of consistently. Fantano's The Needle Drop, and he had did albums saying what are the best album. Pardon me. He did a video saying what are the best albums of the last decade, and somebody mentioned this one, and he said it was Sad Boy Fun was the language he used to describe this album. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go buy it. I'm interested. Let's give it a chance. And I haven't opened this album yet. This is brand new. This is one of the few brand new albums in my collection. I think that over the past few months, I've gotten to the habit of buying more brand new records because I want to hear more current stuff. So this album again is Pure Comedy, Father John Misty. It is Father John Misty is a artist who was formerly known as Jay Tillman. His name is Josh Tillman. He had put out albums before, and he had basically a revelation, an epiphany, that the albums that he had put out under the pen name of Jay Tillman were not full of who he was, and he decided to take on a new persona, which is kind of funny because he took on a new persona to make music that's more in line with who he is. And this is the third album that he put out as Father John Tillman. This album cover is super exciting to me. It gives me vibes of medieval Renaissance paintings where there's a lot of debauchery going on. I don't know if you guys have a really good look from there, but there's a lot happening in this cover. I was able to get this album from Rough Trade in New York City, which is another thing that I really wanted to do. So this album represents two of my, I guess, wants on my vinyl journey. So this is brand new again, still sealed. We're gonna open it together. A good nail cuts through the plastic every time. Also, Rough Trade, the way they sticker their albums also makes my job way easier because they basically just put a description of the album on the cover. So thank you so much to Rough Trade. And thank you so much to the staff guy at Rough Trade who helped me pick this album out. I feel like we had a really good conversation about like music, but also like being a person and being an artist and how those two things intersect. And you know, if you ever want to have like deep conversations about stuff like that, you know, I guess follow me on Instagram. So here we are. We have this cover again, which is very much full of debauchery. It's a little, you know what I mean, cynical. It might be hell. It might be hell in the moonlight. You turn to the back, same thing, full of debauchery. We're downstairs now, so this might actually be hell in the moonlight. I'm not sure. It's a gatefold album. I am going to see the gatefold for the first time ever, along with you guys. And yeah, it's Sad Donald Duck, some Klansmen, some businessmen who look a little seedy. The Pope is in here. Brolic Jesus is in here. I don't know if you guys can see that clearly. So I'm ready. I'm interested in this music. If the album being called one of the best albums of the decade wasn't enough to entice me, then this album cover is, because it's so much going on. So let's get into it. I went through this album. It instantly surprised me. It was not what I expected of an album that was cool, that was in the argument for album of the decade. It is definitely an album that you put on if you're looking for some sadness. It's a real sad album. The way I would describe the album is that it takes you on this journey of realizing that nothing's real, and that the thing that I seem to be the overarching thing I seem to see is that we're all trying to make everything mean something, but nothing means anything. And in the midst of trying to make anything mean anything, we created these systems to be mean to each other and to take from each other and to separate ourselves from one another. And the underlying theme I seem to see is that this thing is really sad. Like, this existence thing is really hard. It's really sad. It's really difficult. But if you have somebody to love you, it makes it a little easier. Songs like Smoochy and Bigger Paper Bag and it's one more song that kind of speaks to it for me. Leaving LA. Leaving LA is the first time where I see that thing a little bit, where he's having this conversation. He gets into this experience he had at JCPenney as a little kid, his first memory of music. And he speaks to the fact of he almost choked in the mall. And his mother was, calling for somebody to save her son, somebody help my son. But the comedy, as he calls it, the comedy is existing. And I'll get into that a little bit more later. The comedy doesn't even stop for a dying boy in a JCPenney or a choking boy in a JCPenney. But it all stopped for his mother, right? Like, this person who cares about you sincerely, it's gonna stop for them. You are enough for it to stop for them. To get back to the theme of the album, the comedy that he's talking about, the pure comedy that is the title of this album, is the fact that we all have to exist. We all have to make it through. And we've all done silly things as a society to make it through. The first song, Pure Comedy, is a really on-the-nose song, right? It talks about the miracle of birth, but also like how we survived the miracle of birth. The fact that, he makes a joke that about half of us are born with periodical iron deficiencies. So somebody has to go out and kill something, and somebody has to stay home with the kids. And when the person went out to kill something gets back, we could switch. And then it goes into a few songs that I didn't like on the first go round. I had to run it back and recircle and respin the album to really get to enjoy these songs. The musicality I didn't really, I wasn't really feeling or enjoying at first, the first time around. I didn't really get into the lyrics where I wanted to. The album, while it's a brand new album, is also like, it came dirty. Like it was a bunch of static, and I kind of had to listen to the album through the liner notes as a way to discover like the lyrics. But these three songs were Total Entertainment Forever, Things That Would Have Been Helpful to Know Before the Revolution, and Ballad of a Dying Man. Ballad of a Dying Man, I can appreciate so much because it's really just a person in their last days trying to just judging everything, and realizing that I don't know anything, and I never knew anything. I don't know anything more than when I started, which kind of arcs back to the first song, which is that we all come out of this thing half formed, hoping that the people that are responsible for us give us the right information. And on the Ballad of the Dying Man, he when he goes out, he finally realizes I don't know anything more than when I started. Birdie was a song that I think is like cool. It didn't do it for me the most, but it's a cool song. Again, going back to that theme of what's happening down here on this planet, and like it's as a bird, as somebody who could fly, stay away from this thing. It's cool. You don't need to be down here. The point where I come back into this album, of really loving this album again, is A Bigger Paper Bag. This album is full of really good lyrics. I would say that the issue with somebody getting into this album could be that it is a very emotional feeling album. However, the lyrics exist more here than they do here. And these are all feelings that most of us may have felt before, existential dread, loneliness, just sadness, even disagreements with God or whatever higher power we devote ourselves to. These are things that we all feel, but if you're not willing to dive into the lyrics, then you really wouldn't be able to get to the point of appreciating what he's saying he feels, if that makes any sense. So yeah, the first A Bigger Paper Bag is one of those is the first song for me where I really started digging in and really feeling the lyrics and being a part of this ride. He has a lyric on that song which is something to the effect of we hope to build rapport with someone who likes us only for the things we like ourselves for. And please be my mirror, but remember there are angles that I don't like to be seen at. And that was so powerful to me because it's like, I know the feeling, I know the feeling like, hey, it's beautiful to think that that's the way you see me. It's beautiful that the idea of you not only seeing me in that way, but loving me for those pieces, because those are the pieces of myself that I want to be seen as. But in real life, that's not how relationships work, right? Like a real relationship is somebody who gets to know those parts of you that you don't really like, and you don't really build rapport with somebody, at least in the sense of a relationship, until y'all get to that point, the point of unpacking the things about yourselves that y'all don't like. Oh my God. When the God of Love returns, they'll be held to pay. Probably my favorite song on here. Maybe I'm lying. There's a run of about 5 songs on this album that I am in love with, and this song is right in smack dab in the middle of that run. It's pretty much when Judgment Day comes and the pale horse comes riding down the street. I know what I'm gonna say though. You're not gonna stop me from saying what I have to say. Y'all might not know. Y'all might feel like y'all need to make excuses on Judgment Day, but I'm not here to make excuses. And it's like, it's the most arrogant song I've ever heard, in the way that he speaks about speaking to the Creator. But I can understand that angst of, or that feeling of, God, why'd you put me here? God, why'd you allow this to happen? God, why does this continue to happen? It is that feeling of that, and it almost speaks to the feeling of like, if you are the Almighty and you are the one responsible for all of this, it is very unfair of you to come down here and judge us as people for surviving for this thing you created. There's a line where he says something to the effect of, next time you're bored, try like a less audacious undertaking, or try something less challenging. The lyric, I don't have word for word, but again, it might be the most arrogant lyric I've ever heard in the song, but it's also like his honesty. And the thing I can relate that song to is the R&B song where the singer comes on and he's like, I love my wife, but I have a side mistress who I also love way more than her, and as deep as I am tied to this relationship I have with my wife, I can't leave this relationship with my side mistress. It's that feeling that we have as people of like, well, if we strip the music away from this and we strip the fun singing away from this, that's kind of not a cool thing to say. But we are an audience to your honesty. And because we are audience to your honesty, we can also be honest with ourselves and those things of like, I get it. I might not have been there, but I understand being there, and that's what I feel in this song. Like, it's not this romantic. Of course, not a romantic tale about it, but it's this feeling of I am existing in what was created for me, and for this higher power to judge me almost seems unfair. And I get it. I get it. I can appreciate that. So, I believe it is the song Smooch, which is the next song, where my favorite musical moment happens. It's there are just, towards the end of the song, there are just these random drums that are kind of syncopated, you don't see coming. Maybe it might have been the song before, because the When the God of Love song returns plays purely piano, and it to me it reads like Hallelujah by Jeff Buckley, but the opposite lyrically. So whichever one of the songs, whether it's that song or Smoochy, there's the way the drum comes in so unexpectedly towards the end of the song, it throws me back, it knocks me out. And again, we're still in this mix of songs that I really, really enjoy, all the way down until the end, actually. All the way down into the end. The song, the next few songs, Two Wildly Different Perspectives, really speaks about the way that as much as we try to catch each other out, as much as we want to go to war with each other for being in disagreement, the outcome that we want for our disagreement really makes us the same. Our perspective, while different, leads us wanting to do the same thing to each other. And if that's what it is, we're not that far apart. The Memo, again, another one of those songs with fantastic lyrics. Fantastic lyrics. The song is about paying to believe. They'll pay to believe is the reoccurring lyric in this song. And he speaks to the golden calf, and he speaks to art and what does it mean, and he speaks to capitalism, and he speaks to insecurities of people, and if you bring people that people see as winners to a place, people who feel like they're losers will follow them wherever, and not only will they sell themselves into slavery, but they'll get on their knees and they'll pay you to believe. They'll pay to believe. And then we get on to I'm Growing Old on Magic Mountain, and 20 years ago or so. And I'm Growing Old on Magic Mountain is the first time that I feel like a song isn't spot on this album, or on the nose, or doesn't necessarily tell you what it's about. It's this experience of it feels like I want time to slow down. I want to continue to enjoy these things, but it also feels like I want to get away from these things. I think that's the best way to describe the song. I highly implore you to listen to that song particularly. Is so good. And then in 20 years or so, again, that theme of the underlying theme again comes out, which is if you have somebody who loves you, this thing is a little easier. If you have somebody who cares about you, this comedy is actually enjoyable. He speaks about the impending end of the world, and 20 years or so from now, it's over. It's all gonna end. He writes an article or something like that. But sitting here enjoying this moment with who seems to be a person who seems to be a significant other kind of makes it easier to deal with. And it's almost a perfect song to go out on, because to me, it nails the theme of the album on the head. This album is, for one, back to my original point, it sounds way different than I expected it to, but it's amazing. It's a dope album. It took me a second go around to really love it in full, but even on the first go around, I'd say 10 out of 13 songs I'm in love with. So I highly recommend it. Y'all, please go listen to this album if you ever get a chance. Give it a chance, because again, the album is full of emotions that we recognize and that we have felt. At the same time, it is really wordful and wordy, and it gets a little overly witty sometimes. But if you're willing to take the ride through the lyrics, if you're willing to care about what he's saying, then you'll get to the point of feeling what he feels, because you have felt this before. And that's the best way to describe this album to me. So with that said, as always, treat life like a vinyl collection. Indulge in things you like. Don't be afraid to try something new. Or cleanse regularly, and always try your best to avoid the static. Peace, y'all.